Welcome to the Master Dealmaker's Secrets podcast. And now, here's sales growth strategist, John Blake.
Welcome to Master Dealmaker's Secrets. I'm John Blake. This is episode 115, and today we're going to talk about how to make a presentation and deliver information in a way that people get it. But before we do that, if you have got lead flow, you've got leads, you've got people that you've spoken to that haven't bought yet, that have got a quote, that have been sent a proposal, that haven't bought yet, and you want to convert more of those leads into actual paying clients, head over to johnblakeaudio.com and grab your free audio download where I show you the exact strategy that you can use to double sales with your existing leads. Might sound like an exaggeration, but it is not. Most salespeople, most businesses, the average number that they follow up is about 2. The data, that's my data. The actual national data is about 1. So there is this massive opportunity, but what most people don't know how to do is they don't know what to say when they call, they don't know how often to call, they don't know what to say when they email, they don't know what to say in a voicemail if they're trying to follow somebody up. So this training will actually teach you exactly what to do. It's at johnblakeaudio.com. Not only will you get the audio training, what you'll also get is a PDF that has the exact word-for-word scripts, what to write in your emails, what to say when you call, what to say in a voicemail message, exactly what to do and when to do it over a 90-day period. So head over to johnblakeaudio.com, grab that, use it, get some sales, and let me know how you go, because I would love to hear your success story. Okay, so episode 115. So what we're going to talk about is how to present information in a way that people get. Now, this is a really simple 3-step formula. But before we do that, I want to tell you, give you an example of how this actually works. I used to have a fashion agency, and I used to get these ranges that were sometimes like 300 or 400 pieces. So, there might be 100 pieces of men's, there might be 100 pieces of women. So it was fashion. So only 100 pieces of men's fashion, 100 pieces of women's fashion, and then there might be 50 pieces of accessories and 50 pieces of perhaps, kids or swimwear, depending on what season we were talking about. So my job was I would get a client, they would come in, and I would show them this range. And it was a very challenging thing to keep somebody's attention for what, for the most part, ended up being about 2.5, 3 hours to actually get through this particular range with them. And I, over the years, worked out that, especially when I first started, because my consulting business actually started a year before I wrapped up my agency. And what I discovered was that there was a formula that you can use to maximize sales when you've got a long presentation. So in my situation, I had a long presentation. I had 300 pieces in a range I had to show. But many other people have got a long presentation in that there's a lot of information that they need to cover off on with a client. So what I learned was this particular formula, and I call it a chunk choice check. And so what that involved was, instead of, so I would have a range of t-shirts and there might be 50 pieces, there might be 50 prints in a t-shirt range. So what most of the other representatives would do is that they would hang up each of these individual t-shirts on a rack all at once. So they would go, item 1, item 2, item 3, they'd all be on hangers, and the person that was seeing the range would then see 50 t-shirt prints all up in front of them. And what I found out, I guess the psychology behind why I changed the way that I did it, because I used to do it like that. I used to put every single t-shirt print up in front of the client, and then they would make their selection. And what I found out is that the human brain can only hold 4 things in it at any given time, plus or minus 2. So 4 or 5 items, so it could be 4 or 5 numbers, it could be 4 or 5 images. The average human brain can only hold, I think it's about 5 things at any given time, plus or minus 2. So the maximum amount would be probably 7, and the minimum amount might be 3. And that's why, often things are explained in threes. So armed with this information, I started to experiment, because when I had the consulting business for a year, and I was learning all this stuff about sales and marketing and persuasion and how to present information in a way that people wanted to actually make a purchase. And so what I started to do is, instead of putting all 50 t-shirt prints up, I would show 4. I would actually put 4 up, and I would say to the retailer, I'd say, so out of these 4, which ones can you see yourself selling? And it was bizarre, because my results went through the roof, because instead of choosing from 50, which is quite confusing for their brain, they would only be choosing 4. And then as we went, I would put the ones that they had chosen aside, and in some cases they might order 2 or 3 times more than what they would normally, because they were making selections from a smaller group, and I was showing the ranges in chunks. So chunk is, and if we extrapolate this out into normal type selling, chunk is deliver a chunk of information, right? So it could be, when I teach how to present proposals, we talk about looking at what's on each page, and then at the end of each page, if you're going through that with a particular client, at the end, you would ask a check question, right? So that the formula is chunk, so show a chunk of information, and then the second part is choice, which is get them to make a choice by asking a check question. So in the fashion agency, I would show them a chunk of items, and then I would get them to make a choice by asking a check question. So in the agency, it was, so out of these 4 items, which ones can you see yourself selling? And so, even that question in itself is very deliberately worded, but with the way most people can apply this, it would be when you are going through an actual proposal or a quote or some paperwork with a particular client. So if you've got a presentation that might be, 5 pages long, or if it's, perhaps, even 20 or 30 slides long, at the end of each section that you are presenting, you would ask a check question. So you would say something like, can you see, does all of that make sense? Can you see how that might be valuable? Can you see how that could work for you? So you're actually closing the door on that particular part of the presentation, and you're calibrating. You're making sure that the person's with you. You're making sure that they understand. You're making sure that they agree. And from a sales perspective, you are making sure that you are bringing them along for the ride, because the opposite to this is, like my original example, you show all 50 t-shirts and they might have switched off halfway through, they might have got a little, got sidetracked or looked at their phone or whatever, and you get to t-shirt number 50 and you're really not sure whether they liked anything, because you haven't asked any questions along the road to calibrate and find out if they're interested. So to summarise, best way to present anything is to show a small or a smaller chunk of information, ask a check question, and in doing so, they make a choice and you get to calibrate to see, whether the person's with you. You get to calibrate their energy. Is there a change in their energy? If there is, stop and find out. Say, hey, I just noticed slight shift in your energy there. Can you, would you mind sharing with me, what it is that's coming up for you as we're going through this? Noticed a slight shift in your energy there. Is there anything that you just noticed there that that you might want to share with me at this particular point in time? Because if you don't stop, if you don't address changes in the energy or perhaps non-verbal cues that there might be an objection along the way, those things tend to snowball. If you don't address them in the moment, those things tend to snowball. And if you get to the end of your presentation and there's an unresolved loop or an unanswered question at the end of your presentation, that question or that unresolved loop can actually spiral out of control, and it can mean the difference between you making a sale or not making a sale. So I I hope that's useful, and thank you very much for listening, as always, and I will talk to you on the next podcast. Cheers.
You've been listening to Master Dealmaker's Secrets with John Blake. Subscribe to get more in-depth strategies to maximize your sales process with new episodes every week. And double your inquiry to sale conversion with the lead flow you already have. Go to johnblakeaudio.com for his exclusive free no-fluff audio training and companion PDF guide.